Hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, could be good morning, wherever you are tuning in. Thank you, as always, for joining me for the LinkedIn Live series that I host, which is Leading in the Moment with Geronda, where I give different tips, resources, education to build inclusive leaders. And a lot of what we talk about, it might be uncomfortable, but that's okay. The goal is to bring in some discomfort, but ultimately get you to start learning on what makes the most effective, inclusive leaders. And we have to get ourselves more comfortable with understanding where our gaps are, our important ways of understanding the information, but also taking time to recognize the work that we have to do to keep this journey going. So again, thank you so much for joining me. If you are joining live, I would love for you to put live in the chat. Would love to see where everyone is joining from. You can also say hello, say where you are joining from. Also super helpful. And before I get started in the topic that I'm going to be covering today, I do like to start us off with a question of the day. And this question of the day is something that I do fairly often. And I like to do this because I don't really want to just jump into things. I really want to get to know my audience a little bit better and whoever is tuning in just a little bit better. Um, and I just, washed my hair, so still drying, but still look good. So the question of the day that I'm going to put up there is, if you could hop on a plane right now, no money. Doesn't matter how much money you have. You can just go on a plane right now. Where would you go and why? For me, I was thinking about this when I was pulling this question. Um, and I really would love to go to Aruba. I have never been. I hear such amazing things. I hear it's super inclusive and very LGBTQ friendly. And it's just, I love to be on the beach. My wife loves to be on the beach. It's been a while since we've taken a vacation where we can go on the beach and literally just hang out, go swimming, snorkeling, um, boat riding, whatever we want to do. And so I would pick Aruba as a tropical place to be and also just to have a really nice vacation and a good time. So Aruba is what I would pick. I love to see what you're going to pick too. So please feel free to answer the question. All right. So leading in the moment today with me, it's going to be a personal story. It's going to be a topic about my journey with a company who skipped DEI assessment. This is a really significant and important topic because there was a lot that went into this experience. And I want to bring this forward if you are an HR professional, if you are a DEI practitioner, if you are a leader in the space, if you are anyone that cares about DEI, this story is going to be really important to pay close attention to because this is going to break down my journey and how this was an experience that could have been better had DEI assessments been involved. So I'm going to go through this experience with you. I appreciate all of you being here. So again, if you are here with me, put live in the chat. If you're watching on the replay, also please put replay. That would be awesome for you to do that as well. So the story and the journey that I had, I'm not going to give out names or information. It's going to be more of a general experience that I'm going to share when I worked with a company that was not um, going about the DEI assessment or even leveraging them really. And so in this experience, so many of us at the time were feeling so misunderstood that we thought it has to be it has to be us. It can't be anybody else. There's got to be something we're doing where we're not getting what we need. We were part of a collective community that was created for us to create space for us to connect. Many of you might know this as an employee resource group. And we were a group of marginalized people from different backgrounds who needed a space to come together so that we can talk about things we might need or even just have connection and support from one another for people that are similar to each other and maybe our lived experiences. And we discovered that there was many different areas of the organization that could improve, like any other organization. We felt that it was more in its policies and especially accountability towards leadership to really take what we are bringing forward to them, um, and really trying to drive some change. So it wasn't even just us. We were also taking in information from other people across the company who maybe didn't have time to be part of the group or didn't want to come into this collective space, but wanted to be updated on what's going on. And so marginalized employees across the organization, we started to receive things like Awareness Month recognition. And employee resource groups similar to the communities that I mentioned above were created in different spaces, but they were created from employees. It wasn't something that the company said, we recognize we have this many people in this identity group. Let's create an ERG for them. It was created from themselves. And it was quickly noticed, it was very noticeable that misrepresentation, even opportunity and resources were becoming a big issue. Um, Misrepresentation was probably the bigger issue as well. And then thinking about, sharing what we're hearing, sharing what we need was not something that was was being heard. Complaints were also increasing across teams and leadership about inequitable opportunities, lack of resources, and especially benefits, and where resources were being put forward in the company. The HR team started thinking that the best approach to this was, let's start pulling together representation data and we'll just look at promotions. And where this came from was there was research that was done. They benchmarked, looked at other companies that were much larger, or somewhat similar to the size of the organization. And they said, well, this company is doing representation data and they're looking at it from the perspective of promotions. Let's do the same thing. Let's look at just promotions and representation. So the risk, though, was only part of HR was assessed, which was the promotion process. Leadership and governance and other areas of the organization were not assessed to determine, are there other policies that we need to update or things that we need to do to really look at how we are going to create a more inclusive organization. And the research that kept coming in was research that other companies were doing, so it became a one size fits all approach. It was a missed opportunity looking across many different segments of the business and even the client base as well. Clients were starting to give feedback around representation, understanding of client needs, and also feedback around just the general practices that were going on in teams and why teams were not very represented. There was a lot of feedback coming from multiple aspects of the organization. And the assumption was that if we collect representation data, that would then solve all of the DEI problems because budget and resources weren't really prioritized to conduct a full assessment. An assessment was brought up, something that was super tricky at the time. What are we going to do to look across every aspect of the organization? And leadership comes back and says, well, I don't know that we want to bring in a consultant to do that. I don't know where we would begin with that. Let's just focus on representation and promotions like the HR department suggested. And what came from that was there was low representation of people that are underrepresented or marginalized, and there were not many people who were people of color or even of different sexual orientations and other marginalized identities that were in leadership roles or being promoted. So the result was, let's put them in more training. Let's train them to be more effective in their roles. And when we train them to be more effective in their roles, that will then make them ready for more leadership opportunities and positions versus looking at things like performance review conversations, recognition that happens across the organization. There were many things that could have happened in the organization. And from a client perspective, client feedback was still stating things like our team and how we operate and where in our organization we really are prioritizing. And I blanked for a second because I'm thinking of the right word I want to use. We're really dedicated and committed. That's the word. We are very committed to representation, DEI across the organization, and we feel that when we bring certain things up that are affecting us, it's not well understood. So feedback was coming from all different angles, like I mentioned. So with that being the main focus and not really focusing on a full company assessment, and the main focus being promotions, representation, putting budgeting in different areas, and really just training every person that's marginalized, um, putting them in training programs to get them to be more aware of what they might be missing in terms of gaps. There was a lot of risks that came with this. There's multiple issues as well. So marginalized employees were seeking more benefits to support them. They said, I'm very I'm very well aware that I might have some areas of improvement in my role, but also a top performer, and I've gotten so much recognition from my customers. What I would love is benefits in this area. Or organizational leadership didn't lead by example, and also people managers, and there was a lot of team challenges that happened as well. There was not as much diversification in teams, and leaders were just wanting to do things from a place of how can we just get more clients in the door, and how can we focus on these different areas, and kind of throw training at anyone who wants to be promoted, and that will kind of give us a space to slow things down and make our decision essentially. Clients didn't feel heard and understood, and candidates actually quickly started to realize the lack of prioritization in DEI, which led to the feeling that the company is just doing things from lip service. And there was significant backlash when the company had put a pride logo, and that pride logo was their way to show that they support the LGBTQ plus community, but they were not matching the things that were being said on feedback sites like Glassdoor, or even LinkedIn. Now, I share this story not to go and bash an organization, but I share this because without this full assessment, turnover increased by 30%, and the ratings for the company decreased significantly from clients. And as a result, not only did a bunch of employees resign, and majority of them marginalized individuals, and ratings decreased, but the company financials started to get impacted by missing opportunities for ways that they can go and expand their market or expand out into the market. And so as a result, there was also layoffs that impacted the workforce. Now, you might think that this kind of sounds like really intense, or no way could this have happened. 30% turnover, and also the company is decreasing in satisfaction, and their customers are not happy about meeting their needs. I don't know. Would the company financials be significantly impacted in that way? Now, turnover costs were significant. They were over $850,000. Um, and there was a lot of turnover from marginalized employees. So HR and finance, they ran the numbers. They had to readjust their plans for getting the workforce back into a good standing. And they had to readjust their plans for wanting to get more people to start applying for different roles in the company. And they then realized the best approach that we can take from this is to look at every segment of our business by having the right information to look at so we can make effective decisions moving forward. I was one of those people that resigned. And so my journey with this company, interestingly enough, was a journey where when I resigned, I shared, and there was a lot of people who resigned that did go into the exit interview process, and they shared what their feelings were. And the common trend was, I wish we took more time to really recognize what the company needs. And I wish I took more time to look across holistically at the policies, the systems, the processes that you have across the organization to see how equitable are they truthfully. And there was actually 3 employees that filed a lawsuit against the organization as well for not being heard and for also unfair treatment in terms of the promotion process. And I won't go into details, but um, these are different ways that an organization can really suffer just from not taking the right steps of doing a DEI assessment. And so this is my journey that I took with this company. And some of you might be wondering, well, what is a DEI assessment? Well, a DEI assessment is exactly what I had mentioned before. It's looking at every segment of your business, from organizational leadership to HR to products and services to procurement, where's money being spent, looking at everything holistically. You can even take pockets and segments, but knowing the right questions to ask, the right questions to answer, to look at how mature your organization is and the opportunities that you have to grow and build through a roadmap and a plan. But it can be really hard to do without knowing where to start. And that assessment is incredibly crucial and beneficial. And I can't emphasize it enough. I really can't. So, with that assessment, now there are a lot of different statistics that are put out there about the cost of turnover. I mentioned um, the struggle that this company had went through for turnover. And if you think about it as well, now we're in the United States, and the company is just U.S. based. We're not. It wasn't a global company. It was not a company that um, was like all across the world. So U.S. based. Employee turnover. So Gallup actually shared that employee turnover costs companies more than $1 trillion a year. This company was very close to 1 million. And it's a 100-person organization that provides an average salary of 50,000 could have turnover and replacement cost approximately 660,000 to 2.6 million per year. So they were pretty in the middle in that number. Again, that's more Gallup information there. So a big quote that I love that's said by Thomas Fioretti. He's the head of Zurich Resilient Solutions in North America, and he said, "Inefficient attention to diversity and inclusion has become a business risk that can have a direct impact both on organizations' financial performance and its workforce." And so this journey that I shared shows just that. There was not sufficient attention on DEI and the right practices to do so. And there's statistics to show the impact when we don't focus on DEI. And so I share this story with you to give more insight and information into that. So if you're with me still, I'd love for you to put live in the chat. And I share this as an opportunity to say, I don't want your company to be or to experience what this company had experienced. It was very significant. And to have to rebrand and try to get themselves back out there, and leadership had to significantly change. Um, I follow up on the company every once in a while, and their leadership is completely different. Their practices look very different, and I think that's good. I think that that's good that they took the steps to do the right thing, to really make it a big focus. And I think that they learned from that experience. And on a personal level, feeling misrepresented and misunderstood and thinking that either nothing's going to change or you must be the problem, that's really taxing on your mental health, emotionally, and sometimes mentally and even physically. And so it was pretty significant. So thank you so much for tuning in with me, for staying with me, for sticking with me, to share this journey with you, because it's really important to me that people learn from certain experiences that happen. And I think this company truthfully learned. And I even learned when I was going back into the workforce about, what types of companies do I want to work for. Um, and so I have a pretty good idea of that now as well. And so something I want to offer to all of you is I'm going to be doing a masterclass specifically on how you can leverage the right data to make excellent decisions. And it's more the DEI data through this assessment. And I'm going to share more about how companies can leverage this resource as an effective way to build a roadmap and make sure you're doing the right things so you don't end up like this company. And so I'm going to add in the comments here, um, this is where you can actually sign up on LinkedIn to be able to attend um, the masterclass. It's a 1 hour masterclass. It's free. So I would love for you to be there. I highly encourage it. It's called Data Driven Inclusion, Combining Inclusive Practice and Decision Excellence. I'm very excited about this as well because it's really going to give you hands on, which you essentially need to start doing this work and to not be in that same place. So would love for you to be there. I'm also going to add let me copy this link here. I'm adding this link as well, which is going to be for a newsletter that you can start being a part of so you can get updates on the course, any promotions I might be having, gifts I might be giving, and possibly more leading up to the masterclass that's going to be taking place on Friday, June 28th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I hope to see you there. Please sign up for the event. Please sign up to get updates as well. I also will be sharing more on my LinkedIn. So if you're not on my LinkedIn, I would love to connect with you if you haven't connected with me on LinkedIn. Or you can also be connected on YouTube or Facebook as well. So I will put my LinkedIn in here too. And then lastly, what I will say is thank you so much for being here. As always, thank you for listening in. And the next Leading in the Moment is going to be happening 2 days before the actual masterclass, which is going to be Wednesday, June 26th, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And we'll talk a little bit more about psychological safety, leadership, ways you can be an inclusive leader by leveraging the right data. So I am here for you. I got your back. I hope to see you at the masterclass, connect with you in any way and capacity that you wish. And with that, I hope you have a great evening and we will talk soon. Thanks, everybody. Peace.